Hey, what's up, and welcome to my corner of the internet. So, it pains me to admit this, but sometimes I can tell when an anime is about to be disappointing. There's several aspects within several episodes that you can clearly point out where an anime is about to fall by the wayside and do some very predictable things, try its best to tie up the story within 12 episodes, and do some measly ending that does not satisfy anyone, and if anything, leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And the anime that I'm talking about today is just one such anime that has just decided today that unfortunately we are not going to get what we deserve from this anime. And there's several aspects. I have several things that's going to back it up. And there is some minor good news that is rumors, a little bit of gossip. There's a possibility of a season 2 for this. So we'll see if it'll all tie up later. But to be honest with you, I'm incredibly disappointed with this anime. And there's a clear episode that pointed out how bad this was going to be. But anyway, the anime that I'm talking about is Malevolent Spirits, Monogatari. That was incredibly negative, right? So here, check me out. This anime isn't half bad. It was 12 episodes. It was an action, supernatural, seinen, and it's written by, I can't really say this guy's name, though I'm going to try and butcher it, Oniguncho. This anime wasn't half bad. I like the concepts. It had a lot of familiarity in what it was trying to do for me, and I loved our main character in the beginning. So what I liked about the story was basically we have our main character, Kunato Hyoma, and basically he's in a world where spirits inhabit objects and they gain their own personality, they gain their own, I guess, sort of person. They become somewhat replicas of humans through objects, and they still carry the powers of said objects. They use them in their own ways. Like if someone's born as like a saw, their arm can turn into a saw, or someone's hand, or if someone inhabits a sword, they become a sword, stuff like that. And they use those powers, and they come about in funny spiritual powers. And Hyoma is basically from a very famous family of Sinoma. I'm totally butchering that again. This is not something that we haven't seen before. I mean, we've seen Kakaishi. We are looking at, well, Jujutsu Kaisen. It's just different ways of doing it, and it's not half bad, even though it's a bit derivative, and looking and comparing this against some of those other ones is pretty much not fair, because I'm pretty sure this is not that. But what this anime could have done was way better than what it did. For me, sometimes, as someone who's watched a bunch of anime, I try not to have expectations, but I do try to look ahead and wonder where they're gonna go. What aspects of the anime are they gonna look towards? Within this anime, very often, within the first couple episodes, it was mentioned, yeah, Hyoma is basically a racist against these spirit thingy things. That basically, he's just like, nah, he hates all of them. Which, for good reason, he has PTSD and trauma. And he has a very serious and almost deliberately unbreaking will to just destroy these things. He doesn't trust them. And he has to move in with a family who is basically built around these things. And the anime continues that way, and I somewhat enjoyed the seriousness. I love that he was basically racist against things. I enjoyed the fact that he continued to hold on to his passion, his anger, his hate. I enjoyed it. Maybe that just makes me a negative person, but hey, you know, it's whatever. But I love the aspect because what it was doing was building us up to a character that was a badass, that was obsessed with working harder for his goals to get revenge. And also, this anime is getting a season 2, so this is like one of the caveats before I like really talk about how much this anime just disappointed me. So the animation isn't half bad. The story for a couple episodes is pretty solid to follow, and it's not half bad even though it's incredibly derivative. here is where the disappointments come in. The anime does a bit of a 180 throughout the entire show. And there's a clear episode where I'm just like, why is this going on? And it has something to do with when it starts to really introduce and have whole episodes just completely geared towards the romance aspect of the entire anime. And I get that that is a decent pillar of the story, that Hyoma is there as some sort of marriage person. Like, they have some sort of designed marriage by their, like, guardians and stuff like that. And basically, the main love interest, who is Botan, who basically is inhabited by a spirit, and by the spirit who somewhat has power. Well, it's perceived that they have some sort of grand power because she's human and she's inhabited by this thing, and she is perceived as basically the future god of things. This is all interesting concepts. All sorts of different things are thrown at you that are so interesting that they could go towards, and they don't do it. This entire anime is somewhat blue balls. And blue balls because, like, Hyoma still holds a lot of his prejudices for most of the anime until, like, randomly he just softens to it. And of course, you're gonna soften to the people you spend most of your days with, living with. But when you really think about it, he's gotten attacked. He's met so many different of the things that are basically killing people, and he gets to turn up, and we just see a lot of his motivation. We see his trauma, but it's such a 180 that he completely starts trusting everyone. And also, the pacing of power, it feels like Hyoma in the beginning feels like a complete badass, but then when he gets surrounded by other things, he feels completely weak and kind of does this mini training arc by the very same bad guys that want to control him. It's all very odd. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Though the bad guys that aren't necessarily bad guys, they're just people trying to avoid a disaster because of Botan's perceived power. They're just checking their T's and dotting their I's, stuff like that. It's all just hearsay, and it doesn't feel like they're really going anywhere with a lot of these ideas. And then you'll randomly get a good quarter of the episode where they're just dedicating it to romance. And it just feels all sparse and like there was no real direction with this. I want them to decide, are we going to have a revenge arc where Hyoma basically changes and shifts and learns and gets his revenge? They do not even get close to dealing with the main problem of basically Hyoma losing his brother and sister. We don't even get close to it. We just find another character that is kind of motivated by the pretty much same thing, but her motivation is a bit darker than Hyoma's, even though it's what's more darker than grief and loss. But you know, anime is doing their anime thing. All in all, this anime fell off a cliff after an episode. And I roughly forget it, not because it was just so forgettable. Some of the episodes just blended together, and the romance aspects, I'm not against romance, but the problem is the romance was such a stark contrast from what we began that it just felt so disjointed when it was put into the episodes, and how forced it was that like Botan and Hyoma were supposed to be together for some sort of reason. They had so many cool concepts. Some of the animation wasn't half bad. A good bit of the powers and a good bit of the conversation about things and the belief in things, the property, the ideas of family, all sorts of different traumas that were going on. A lot of it was genuinely interesting, and they had some heartfelt moments that were genuinely made me feel something. But they copped out at some of the last moments, and it felt lackluster to say the least. But anyway, that's just my opinion. How did you feel about Malevolent Spirits Monogatari? Did you like it? Did you care about it? Are you excited if it does get a season 2? I'm going to keep watching it only because I want to see what they're going to do. Are they going to land this plane in any way, shape, or form? And I want to see if Hyoma actually follows through and gets his revenge. But anyway, peace. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and take care.